David, appreciate the time here. I know you've been in the news recently, a lot going on. I want to get into that, but for those who aren't familiar with WGO and how you got started, a relatively new company, been around since 16, a lot of money been poured into exploration. Sean Ryan's up there running things for you. Several things going on. Before we get to current day, let's backtrack a little bit and how this thing get started and how are things going.
Yeah, thanks. The walk back actually goes over 100 years, right? This is the focal point of the big gold rush from the turn of the century, where people basically risked their whole lives in the search of riches, and they went there, and a lot of guys found it. It's been over 120 years now of people pulling gold right out of the creeks at surface in the Yukon. Right to this day, you see it on Discovery. It's still happening. So this district, in terms of history, it's second to none. In terms of productivity, it's been over 20 million ounces of gold that have come from these surface creeks since that time. So in terms of prospectivity, what more do you want than starting in an area that has found like 20 million ounces of gold on the surface? And it's only been in the last 10 years where guys like ourselves have said, hey, you know what, like this gold didn't come from the sky. It came from the ground, and based on the work they've done, the structural interpretation, there's probably a lot more under the surface of the earth than they found at the surface. And that work, for whatever reason, and I don't have an answer for this, that you're in Canada, a country with such a rich history of mining and exploration, no one has really spent the time and effort to go look, under where all this gold has been. And when they started 10 years ago, it was less than a year when they had their first major discovery. And this was a company, Underworld Resources, which was one of Sean Ryan's properties that he had, first staked when he had been up there. He's been up there for 20 years now. And, I'll get a little bit into like how that all plays into what is now White Gold. And within a couple of years following his sort of methodology, they had a major discovery, and they were almost immediately taken out by Kinross. That created a huge staking rush. Every junior and their uncle went up there. And they got up there and they found that one guy had the best of the best claims, and that was Sean Ryan. That's our partner in White Gold Corp. And he was very happy to option them off to all these different companies and get these properties doing the proper modern exploration for the first time ever. To follow up on these theses of what he had, and a lot of work got done, a lot of good work got done. And, it wasn't long until the second major discovery happened. That was Kaminak. I'm sure a lot of people followed that story. And they were eventually taken out by a major as well when Goldcorp bought them for $520 million in 2016. So in terms of time frame from commencing exploration to huge success at takeout, it's amongst the fastest that I've ever seen. We've been in the junior resource space for a long, long time. Been fortunate to back and be involved with a number of great entrepreneurs and prospectors, and really truly live the dream of going from an idea to a discovery to a takeout. Right? That's our model. That's what we're in it for. And what we've seen in the Yukon in terms of a jurisdiction to be able to invest, to look for that, it really is almost second to none, right? You have all the ingredients there. You're in a great jurisdiction, being Canada, being the Yukon. Great example there is the government announced a couple of years ago a multi-$100 million program to help support mining in the district. It's so underexplored, and you have such a rich history and a recent track record of success. So, as a group, I'm with the Power One Capital Group. We've been big investors in the Yukon for well over a decade now. Back Sean Ryan and some other ventures. So what happened, just to sort of bridge that gap, a couple of companies had this great success in the early 2000s, in the early 2010s. After that time, 2011, 2012, 2013, as any junior resource investors are aware, things got pretty slim in terms of availability of capital. So a lot of these other companies just couldn't afford to execute on the exploration programs that they got committed to with Sean as part of the option agreements. Sean smartly, that was the structure he chose for these deals, where the companies had to provide Sean whatever payment it was, but the bigger part is that Sean always wanted the investment to go into the ground. They had to commit to performing a certain amount of exploration in terms of work and dollars over a number of years. And after sort of their third year, when they couldn't get their financing, and meet those obligations, the arrangement was, because of our options, Sean gets all the property back. And so here he was in 2013 or 14 with, seeing the success, based on his theories, seeing the rest of this land, which he was now getting back with the benefit of an extra 20 or $25 million of work. He was in this, almost sort of, unbelievable position where he's back where he started. He's proven his thesis. He sees the work that's been done. He's more confident now than ever in terms of the prospectivity of these projects. But what he wanted to do this time, knowing that, his odds were, stacked up more better in his favor, was to advance the portfolio. He did not want to piece it out like he did last time. He wanted to keep all his eggs in one basket, be able to maintain a bigger interest. And in his view, he put together what he called this 3-year business plan of what it would take to really perform a systematic exploration program on this entire property package that would at least sort of show where the most likely prospectivity was for major hard rock discoveries. And his plan called for about $15 million to be spent over 3 years. And once you sort of identify that initial discovery through his very innovative exploration protocol, which really, cut down the cost and allowed sort of things to happen very efficiently, that's when you sort of, reinvest to bring on the diamond drills and do sort of more heavier type exploration. So he brought that idea to us at the Power One Group. And, we were sort of blown away by the fact that a single person could have control over such a prolific district where a major had just bought a company for $500 million, and somehow he managed to reassemble the whole thing again. And so, we were immediately, on board to partner with him as a capital partner. And for us, and why he came to us, in addition to capital, we have a very strong relationship with the institutional financial community, obviously, but also the mining community, corporates, through our track record of having sold a lot of companies to them in the past. So, we really sort of did bring that full package, which is why Sean wanted to partner with us. And, we were able to immediately sort of, prove that he was wise to do that. And we told Sean, Sean, this is, I don't know if you want to call it a once in a lifetime opportunity, but it's pretty close to it. And, the majors will trip over themselves, I think, to get involved at this level for the reasons we stated earlier on. And, that's exactly what happened. We brought the opportunity to a few of the majors that we had close working relationships with, and they were all very, very enthused to become a part of the company from the beginning. And from that group, that's when we chose Agnico Eagle to be our partner. And they came in as a 20% partner right off the bat. And the reason why we chose Agnico is obviously they're a very highly respected mining company. They know how to work in the north of Canada, and they're just so strong on the exploration side. And as part of our arrangement, they would provide us access to their technical expertise. So it was a dream come true for a small company just getting started up to be able to have access to the technical capabilities of a major, in addition to being able to work with Sean Ryan and his team that was involved in every single exploration in this emerging district. It was the perfect scenario for us. So we were thrilled the way things panned out. We kicked things off in sort of the end of 2016 and 2017. And, when we thought things couldn't get better, we were presented with an opportunity to really sort of re-rate this company from just a pure exploration junior to a junior with defined resources. And what happened there was the other big sort of landholder in the district was Kinross. They had bought Underworld Resources, which had their Golden Saddle deposit. That was the first major discovery in the district. It was just under 1 million ounces. And in talking to them to sort of, figure out how do we kind of collaborate potentially to, help sort of bring this, district and unlock the value there moving it forward. We ended up coming to arrangement through that. It was, they quickly identified the fact that we had now assembled a team that made their discovery, the team that made the coffee discovery, which Gold Corp bought, now owned by Newmont, who, they're working to advance it. I think that they're pretty optimistic in terms of the potential there. And they said, well, guys, you guys know this area sort of as good as anyone, probably better than anyone in the world. Why don't, we partner together here? We'll roll our assets into White Gold, take back an equity position, and let your team get go. We had obviously had an asset, felt there's a lot upside potential, which we were right. We've grown that asset by over 50% in the last couple of years. Our team said there's a lot more meat on the bone. And the other properties they have were some of Sean's most prospective properties. So it was kind of a match made in heaven. And and just to sort of round out our story, which is why I kind of think White Gold is very unique amongst the junior community. Not only do we have what's now almost 1,000,008 ounces of gold, we have the backing of two major companies, right? And I think that should speak to the potential here. To the team. It's obviously now been further recognized by, I guess, Eric Sprott, who's recently joined the company as a significant shareholder. So it's quite sort of, and I'm talking a lot, but there's a lot going on in the company. But that's sort of a little bit of the context of how this all came together and sort of, what we're sitting with here and why we think this is such, a prolific opportunity in terms of, being able to invest in this burgeoning gold market here.
Yeah, and let's fast forward to present day here. Obviously, you got the flagship Golden Saddle deposit. The Ryan Surprise got some numbers out. Why don't you roll into current day activities?
Yeah, for sure, and that sort of gets us to the other side of this company. What makes it so excited? Obviously we have an asset. We've shown that it can grow. We still think it's got a lot of potential to grow. This Ryan Surprise is a great example of that. But on the other side, what we also offer, and sometimes it gets a little bit confusing, is we own, our property package now is 420,000 hectares. That's about 1,000,000 acres. So, and our view, kind of stepping back to why we're so excited, that's like owning, 50% of the Timmins camp or the Abitibi in Quebec or the Nevada gold field 100 years ago. And that's really why we got so excited is, the deposit's great. There's, value in the ground there that you could sort of peg. It compares incredibly favorably to other deposits like that in Canada. Almost 2 million ounces, over 2 grams. That in and of itself is a company maker in our view. And, we're thrilled to be able to have that in our company. And maybe I'll kind of get into our strategy in a few minutes. But what really gets, I think, ourselves excited and the market excited is the prospectivity of the balance of our portfolio. This is literally, very land that has seen only very limited exploration. It's in the middle of some of the most prolific placer camps on earth, and with the work we've been able to do over the last 2 or 3 years, we've demonstrated that these are highly prospective pieces of property. And in addition to the value we've created in expanding the Golden Saddle, we've had 4 brand new bona fide high grade discoveries in the balance of this district from what we've worked on so far. We have 30 properties, probably close to 100 different targets. And, it's just a matter of time to be able to systematically work through them. So each year, what we've done is we've sort of split up our exploration efforts into sort of 3 buckets, which is how we kind of characterize our property portfolio. It's a bit of a pipeline. So we have our more advanced stuff, which is the Golden Saddle. We talked about that. And then we have an intermediary bucket, which is what we call sort of, our new discovery stuff that was a grassroots project 1 or 2 years ago. We've run it through our protocol. We've had, real drill discovery, and now we're looking to invest to take that to the next level. Is it, does it necessitate an investment to bring in the diamond drills? And we have, about half a dozen properties in that stage now. And then we have our earlier stuff where we're working the soil sampling and, Sean's other sort of proprietary protocols that really helps identify the target. And what Sean was able, the secret to his success early on was this area of the Yukon, believe it or not, was never glaciated. So he's been able to find this correlation between the soil geochemistry and the gold in the bedrock. And it's not necessarily just gold, it's other, arsenic, antimony, bismuth, all these different sort of trace finder elements. But that's, he's just such a scientist and kind of looking into all these things and figuring it out. And based on what he saw, led to the discoveries in the past, he's now looking to see where we have those types of signatures again or other ones. And, in doing that type of work, we've had, we had a big discovery on our JP Ross property a couple of years ago, the Vertigo, some ultra high grade stuff, up into the 100 gram plus. We had a very interesting discovery on our Betty property a couple of years ago also, which ties on to Newmont's coffee property. which we're going to be doing some work on there. And then last year, we tapped into this brand new discovery called our Titan target, which again produced some 100-gram plus type intercepts. So, we're kind of focused in each of those different areas in each of the 3 years. This year was no different than that. And to your point about the Ryan Surprise, so that target there is actually located less than 2 kilometers away from our Golden Saddle deposit. As any resource investor would know, the best place to look for more gold is near an existing deposit. And that was also the advice of our partners, Nico and Kinross. I say, guys, you're a junior. Your job is not to delineate these things, bring them to feasibility stage. We want you to go out there and find as much gold as you can. Let us or other people, that's kind of another level of expertise that's needed to sort of figure out how much exactly is there, how do you build a mine, etc. And they said, you guys have now done a good job. You've increased the Golden Saddle from 1 million to 1.5 million ounces, but why don't you start looking more broadly? Look in that kind of 5 to 10 kilometer radius, because anything you find there will be part of that project, right? And that's what we started doing a couple of years ago, and running these things through the protocol, the soil samples and the geoprobe and the LiDAR and whatever else. We tapped into this Ryan Surprise target in 2018 with a couple, very high grade hits, 20 grams over 6 meters, 5 grams over 15 meters. We diamond drilled it last year a little bit, came up with a new interpretation. So this year we wanted to sort of test that interpretation, also start to test the strike and the depth. And we went over there and executed a sort of a moderate type diamond program. And we were, pretty happy with the results that came back. We just put those out the other day. All the holes hit gold. 5 of the 6 holes hit sort of very high gold grades. And, what we were able to demonstrate is that the gold zones that we had hit in the last couple of years, we were able to extend those long strike and down dip. And we were also able to tap into some additional gold zones. So there is quite a bit of gold in that area. Some of the highest grades we've actually seen on that property. It's a little bit of a different style of mineralization from what we've seen. But, at the end of the day, it's, grade is king in this business. And it's, like I said, some of the highest grades we've had. So we are, very, very excited by those results.
Yeah, you mentioned you're talking about your strategy. And my favorite question is, I see where you're going. I see how you put it together. I see where you're at. How are we making money together? What's the end game here for White Gold?
Yeah, exactly. So you look at how we're built. We're explorationists. So our goal here is this is to be a project generator. We have this huge land package. This thing arguably takes 20 years to work on. So our plan is, we make the discoveries, kiss all the frogs, like Sean says. And then when it's, do a little bit of work, show the prospectivity, and then look to sort of monetize that and have it worked on outside of White Gold, to do that sort of heavier type delineation work. And then, structurally, there's a lot of options. Could that be a direct asset sale? Could it be a spin out? Could it be a JV? Could it be option? It can be all of those. But, the goal is to get the assets, prove there, and then transact at that level, have the company, either get paid, which means that the shareholders get paid. It could be a dividend, depending on how it's structured, or if nothing else, that type of monetization will fund the exploration going forward, so we don't have to dilute the investors in the company. And that, just to touch on that, so as capital markets people and the larger shareholders with Nico and Kinross and Sean Ryan, we are very sensitive to dilution. And it's important to us to sort of, our goal at the end of the day is to optimize and maximize the value of the shareholders, right? We're totally aligned, and that's what we're looking to do. So make these discoveries, sell them, hopefully, shareholders, everyone gets paid, and then use that money to keep working on this prolific package we've been able to put together.
Yeah, well said. So, before I let you go here, give us a little 30, 60-day look into the immediate future here as you close up the year.
Yeah, well, this is, the most exciting time of the year, I think, for us, and, it should be for investors as well. We're able to get a really effective season executed, and we've just started to see that news flow come out. The news on the Ryan Surprise high-grade results was the first piece of news we were able to release for this year, and we can expect continuous news flow, throughout the balance of 2020 and likely into 2021.
Okay. Let's David D'Onofrio. He's the CEO of White Gold, WGO on the venture. David, hey, really appreciate the drill down and look forward to tracking your news as we move forward.
Yeah, thanks so much for the interest. Stay tuned. Hope to have lots more good news to come.